Don't worry, sir. He's just the janitor. That's what a cadet told the visiting general as I emptied the trash by the hallway. I didn't look up, just kept sweeping, but that night one of the cadets wandered into the archives looking for old battle case studies, and there in a black and white photo from a classified mission was Reed. 3 days later, every cadet stood at attention when I entered the building, and for the first time I saw respect without the mob. Comment salute if you believe quiet men often carry the loudest legacies. I started working at the academy 10 years ago, not because I needed the job. My pension was enough, not because I missed the uniform. 27 years of service had filled that cup. I came because walls that hold tomorrow's leaders should be cleaned by someone who understands what those leaders might face. Sweeping floors, scrubbing walls, polishing brass plaques I once helped earn. My reflection stared back from medals commemorating operations whose files remained sealed. Sometimes my hands would pause, remembering the weight of different tools they once carried, different responsibilities, different consequences. No one asked who I was, and I never offered. Military academies run on hierarchy, on the visible symbols of rank and achievement. Without those symbols, I became invisible exactly as I preferred. The anonymity was a kind of peace I hadn't known during active duty. To them, I was just Mr. Reed, the night janitor. With a limp and a key to every hall. The limp came from Kandahar. The keys came with the job. Both opened doors in different ways. Cadets ran past me in the mornings, joked behind my back, left muddy boots in my freshly mopped corridors. Some would salute mockingly when no officers were watching. Evening general clean. They never noticed how I assessed their formations with professional eyes, how I cataloged their weaknesses without judgment. I didn't take offense. I'd seen worse disrespect in places where it cost lives. Young men and women play-acting toughness were nothing compared to the real thing. Besides hubris, before humility is the natural order. I'd walk that path myself. My routine became clockwork. Up at 0400 Academy grounds by 0500. First coffee at 0500 fifth. Always black. Hallways mopped by 0700. Windows cleaned by 0900. The rhythm reminded me of patrols. Same precision, different purpose. Once a visiting general, 3 stars gleaming on each shoulder, stopped as I polished the memorial wall. His eyes narrowed, that instinctive recognition soldiers develop for others who've served. He was about to speak when a cadet hurried over. "Don't worry, sir. He's just the janitor," the young man said, eager to escort the general to more important matters. "This way to the tactical simulation room." The general hesitated, still watching me. I nodded slightly. Our subtle communion. He understood and moved on, glancing back once with curious eyes. I smiled, not bitterly, just the way a man smiles when he knows something others don't. The way you smile when you understand that importance rarely announces itself with rank or uniform. During lunch breaks, I'd sit alone in the maintenance room eating simple meals from a worn lunchbox, occasionally scrolling through old photographs on my phone, faces of brothers in arms, many now gone. Landscapes from countries most Americans couldn't locate on a map, memories filed away like the classified reports they'd become. Sometimes an instructor would ask me to unlock a classroom, never making eye contact, never saying please or thank you. I'd comply silently, fingers finding the right key without looking. Keys were weapons in their way, granting access, creating security, delineating boundaries. I respected their power as I once respected my rifle. The academy ran on routine and ambition, lectures about strategy delivered by men who'd studied war but never felt its breath, physical training that approximated combat without its consequences, honor codes recited by cadets who hadn't yet been tested by real choice. I observed it all, hands gripping my mop like an anchor, watching future officers learn about leadership from textbooks while ignoring the lessons walking their very halls. And then curiosity found its way into the wrong file room. Or perhaps exactly the right one. A third-year cadet named Delgado was researching Medal of Honor citations for an ethics paper. Eager, dedicated, with a hungry mind that separated potential from mediocrity. I'd noticed him before, always last to leave the training grounds, first to arrive at morning formation. There was substance beneath his ambition. He stayed late longer than he should have. The library had closed at 2100 hours, but Delgado had secured special permission to continue his research. The kind of determination that bends rules without breaking them. I saw him hunched over documents as I emptied trash bins, neither of us acknowledging the other. The archivist gave him access to older restricted files stored in the academy vault. 15 minutes, she'd said, checking her watch. "These don't leave this room." Then she stepped out for coffee, trusting the responsible cadet with history's secrets. Trust, the currency of leadership so casually exchanged. He opened a case study labeled Black Ridge Apico Dust, classified until recently. The operation had been declassified only in fragments with names and specific locations still redacted. Just another forgotten mission in a forgotten valley, during a forgotten week of a war most Americans had stopped following. Inside was a report detailing a 3-day siege, Russian-made mortars raining from mountain positions, communications cut, extraction impossible, the kind of situation where survival becomes the only strategy. 17 soldiers entered, only 3 walked out. The report detailed impossible decisions, calculations of sacrifice that no classroom could teach, moments where textbook tactics dissolved against the reality of terrain and time. One of them carried the wounded captain 6 miles under sniper fire. The report described unrelenting enemy contact, an exceptional disregard for personal safety, clinical language for a hellscape of bullets and blood, the kind of courage that cannot be trained, only revealed attached. Was a photo grainy, but clear enough. A soldier face streaked with dirt and something darker carrying an officer across rocky terrain. Behind them, black smoke spiraled from a valley. The man was younger, beard, shorter, eyes the same. It was me, not Sergeant Reed, the janitor, but Captain Reed Blackwood, Delta Force operative, recipient of awards that didn't exist in public records. The man who'd chosen silence over celebration after retiring, who traded authority for anonymity by choice, not circumstance. Delgado didn't sleep that night. I know, because I saw the light under his dorm room door during my 0200 rounds. Revelation creates its own insomnia. The next morning he showed the photo to the commandant. The same commandant who'd passed me daily for years without a second glance, whose office I'd cleaned while he prepared lectures on battlefield leadership, whose coffee mug I'd washed without comment. Within 24 hours, every cadet had seen it. Technology ensures that revelation travels at the speed of electrons. Whispers became conversations. Sidelong glances became direct stares. The invisible man suddenly cast an unwanted spotlight. Some didn't believe it until Delgado approached me as I cleaned the trophy case outside the mess hall. Other cadets watched from a distance, curiosity overcoming decorum. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked, voice caught between accusation and awe. "No, sir," but his posture had changed. The casual slouch replaced with something approximating attention. I paused, cloth still pressed against glass. Behind the glass, golden figures frozen in moments of athletic triumph gleamed under the hallway lights. Symbolic victories for boys and girls still playing at accomplishment. I looked him in the eye, because I wasn't here for recognition. I was here to clean the place and watch what kind of leaders you all become. The words hung between us, between the man I had been and the man I had chosen to be, between the heroes they studied in books and the reality standing before them with calloused hands in a plastic bucket. "But you're," he started. "I'm a janitor," I interrupted gently, "who happened to be something else once. Just like you're a cadet who will be something else someday. The question is what you'll carry forward." That silence, it spoke louder than medals ever could. In that moment I taught more about duty and humility than any instructor behind a podium ever managed. Not through speech, but through presence. Not through glory, but through service. Delgado straightened. For the first time he truly saw me. If you believe some men teach more by walking than speaking, subscribe to Steelheart Stories. The academy changed after that, not dramatically, not with fanfare, rather it shifted like a river finding a more honest course. Small adjustments that revealed deeper currents beneath. They didn't build a statue, didn't throw me a parade, didn't invite me to give speeches about heroism or sacrifice. Official recognition would have missed the point entirely, would have transformed quiet dignity into spectacle. What they did was better. Cadets started showing up early to clean their own floors. I'd arrived to find hallways already swept, boots already polished. Not every day, not every cadet, but enough to matter, enough to show that something fundamental had shifted in their understanding of service. They asked questions about leadership, about fear, about silence, not in classrooms, but in passing moments. Brief conversations while I changed light bulbs or repaired door hinges. They didn't want war stories. They wanted truth. The gap between theoretical courage and its practical application. I didn't lecture, just told them what I remembered. That leadership rises from the ground up, not from rank down. That fear accompanies every meaningful choice. That silence often teaches more than speeches. The commandant moved my locker next to the officers' lounge. A symbolic gesture acknowledging what had always been true. That hierarchy exists in minds more than in reality. That respect transcends patches and pins. I didn't use still like the supply closet, the smell of pine saw and honest work, the distance from politics and pretense. But I appreciated the gesture for what it revealed about the commandant himself. his capacity to reconsider to grow. Instructors began incorporating maintenance into leadership exercises. Every officer should know how systems work from foundation up, they explained, but I recognized the deeper lesson being taught, that no task is beneath those who truly lead. One day, I found a card tucked into my mop bucket, anonymous, except for its signature. Thank you for reminding us what courage really looks like, class of 27. That meant more than all the ribbons I ever wore, because medals commemorate moments, but change commemorates understanding. I tucked the card into my wallet next to a faded photo of my old unit. Different generations connected by the same truths, because now, DeFi, they saw me. The seeing wasn't about recognition, it was about perception, about looking beyond surface and symbol to substance beneath, about understanding that character exists, independent of context, not as a janitor, not even as a war hero, but as a man who stood, served, and kept walking even when no one was watching, especially when no one was watching. Sometimes the most important leadership happens in empty rooms, in unwitnessed choices, in moments where no medals are offered, and no promotions follow. The academy began to teach this not through curriculum, but through the living example, moving quietly through their halls. The cadets still trained, still studied tactics and strategy, but something subtle had entered their education, something about the continuity of service, about dignity that transcends role and rank, something true. I still mop the halls, still wipe boot scuffs off tiles. Some routines deserve continuation, not because they're required but because they matter, because clean floors and empty trash cans create space for other work to happen, because maintenance is its own form of mission. But now cadets hold the door, they greet me with a nod, not exaggerated deference, but the simple acknowledgement between those who understand each other's worth. The respect isn't for who I was, but for the consistency between who I was and who I am, for congruence rather than glory. Sometimes they ask if I'll tell them more about decisions made under fire, about leading when nobody wants to follow, about finding purpose after the uniform comes off. Real questions that textbooks don't answer. Sometimes I do. Simple truths delivered while changing air filters or replacing ceiling tiles. Working hands delivering hard-earned wisdom. The most natural form of mentorship. Shared labor creating space for shared understanding. The old photo is now framed near the Academy's honor wall. No nameplate, just the caption. Some heroes never stop serving, not to glorify me, but to expand their definition of service itself, to challenge the notion that contribution ends when context changes. The commandant invited me to his office once, asked if I wanted a teaching position. We need instructors who've lived what they teach, he said. I declined politely, explained that some lessons can only be taught from the margins, not from the podium, that my mop spoke volumes my voice never could. He understood, offered his hand instead of argument. That too was growth. I didn't want them to salute me, didn't want ceremony to replace substance. Formality often becomes substitution for genuine respect, and empty choreography masquerading as honor. I wanted something truer, something that would serve them in the valleys where protocol dissolves. I wanted them to understand that leadership begins long before the ceremony, that it resides in unseen actions and unglamorous choices, that it's revealed in how we treat those we don't need to impress, and demonstrate it through consistency when recognition isn't forthcoming. And in the quiet corners of this old academy, I think they finally do. I see it in straightened chairs left behind after study sessions, in trash collected before I arrive, in the cadet who stops to help when my aging knees protest a day of bending and lifting. Small actions revealing deeper transformation, not performative, but habitual. Character becoming reflex rather than calculation. I still carry my old dog tags in my pocket, still recite the names of fallen friends on their anniversaries, still serve just differently. The mission changes, the commitment remains. Some days when the halls are empty and sunlight streams through polished windows, I pause, rest my hands on my mop, and feel a quiet satisfaction that some lessons can only be taught by living them. That transformation happens not through proclamation, but through presence, through showing up, through serving, through consistency when no one is watching, through the dignity of necessary work done well. Subscribe to Steelheart Stories if you believe the mop, the medal, and the mission can live in the same hand.